Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa McCardle, your inner wisdom awakener and your consciousness activator. I am here today to bring you July's energy forecast, and it's going to be another abundant, amazing month. But the good news is that things are going to lighten up a little bit. So if you like what's happening here, please, please, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And be sure to ring the bell because that will get you notifications when the next videos come up. So let's dive into July and see what's coming. So things really get kicked off with a July 4th, which is our Independence Day here in the US. I like to call it our Interdependence Day. And we are welcoming that day a full moon in Capricorn lunar eclipse. So this is the third of our and final of our eclipse cycle for this season. And so it is the bookend of the lunar eclipse. The first one got activated on June the 5th. And then we had a solar eclipse in the middle. And now we have this kind of grand finale. And part of what this energy is going to do is to kind of close the gap, or to really bring closure to the emotional activation that has occurred over the last 6 months. And there's been plenty. So it occurs at 4:44 Universal Time and really ties into the code of our 4 activation year. Right? So 444 is also the angel number that says that your angels are listening and they're here to support your wishes. So it's an extremely activating time. It will occur at 9:44 p.m. Pacific time. So we have the number of completion and the duality of the 4, which is our strong foundations. And the whole theme of this year is breaking down the old structures to usher in the way for these new foundational structures, for these new higher vibrational sequences that we're escorting as we really welcome in a huge shift of consciousness for humanity. So all that was structured within that third dimension must also reconfigure into a higher frequency, which is what the 4 is all about. So here we are in the activation of it. And just to remind you that eclipses really bring in the shadow, right? So a lot of what you might be experiencing through this lunar eclipse is a little bit of a backwards gaze into regrets. What do you regret? What are you longing for? What pieces or parts of yourself or experiences or expressions do you perceive to be kind of hidden away? It's going to dredge up the old regrets. And really what that gets to do is for you to have an experience of really connecting those regrets or those old aspects, those dredging up of those old pieces of you in order to integrate, right? In order to come into your fullness, and to make amends so that you can move freely forward and to let go. Letting go and surrender is a huge key component coming in every aspect of experience and expression here as we become new humans. So it's really about clearing away the emotional baggage. We've had a lot of deep waters of emotion, a lot of Cancer energy, and really to clear away the deep emotions and the baggage of the last 6 months and all that has been made clear and revealed through you over these last 6 months. This will also have a really positive effect on Mercury retrograde, which is going direct on July 12th. So it'll make this last part of Mercury retrograde actually a much easier, more pleasurable experience. Things should lighten up significantly. And then you're met with a new moon in Cancer on July the 20th. And the sun will also be in Cancer. So you get to it's really going to kind of activate into a lot of more emotion around about love and family and relationships, and really coming back into home life and this expression of your core existence in from an emotional perspective. And then we enter into the almighty Leo, into the fire of Leo on the 22nd. So you can expect some activation towards the end of the month as well. Okay, numerology. Let's move into the numerology of this month. July is an 11 month. And 11 is the number of mastery, master number 11. It's an opportunity for radical self-realization, radical, like to so clearly see you and see where you've been missing your own mark or resistance to your own expressions, or and really to come into ownership of your own limitations and your limiting beliefs. It's really the self-realization. One is the power, right? One is the one, it's the arrival, it's the power. But two softens and balances. So the one and the one, we don't reduce them, but they turn, but really it's the duality, right? It's the two. And that brings the softness in, that brings the relationship aspect in. And it's really relationship to self, and softens that balance and creates this opportunity. I always like to think of 11 as being like looking in the mirror at where the significance of one can mirror the other, and that's all within self. You can look at it as like the duality of ego and higher self, and there's so many different reflections of it, but it's a potent month for transformation, and not from this jaggedy, like uncomfortable. I just foresee it being more spacious, which will bring us to the 4 words for this month's activation. So stick around so you know what the 4 expectations you can have. The energy that's coming through the 11 is don't give up. You're so close to your dreams and to your expectations of what you're expecting, like the expectant mother, right? What are you full with possibility? Don't give up now, even though you might through the shadows feel like I just can't, and you might actually be met with your own resistance in that 11 and that mirroring 1-to-1. Don't give up. You're just about to the of greater expression. And it's just basically a huge spiritual activating month for the consciousness of you as an individual and for the collective at large. So this brings us to our words for this month. The guidance that came through, the first word that had significance was communion. Communion. And this kind of translated into communion with self, right? This is the 11, coming into the mastery of the communion with self, into seeing yourself for the truth of who you are, and also seeing the shadows that have created resistance within you for being in the ownership and the full expression of the truth of who you are as the master soul. So communion with self, and then communion with source. Because we are source. And so when you're in that communion with self and that realization of self and that ownership of self purely and unapologetically, then you're also really moving a lot of source energy through you. It's communion with self, with source, with God, with universal intelligence, with creator, creation, however it is you choose to be with it. And it's the expression, right? The communion. So also this comes into communication, right? How you commune with yourself and with your higher self and with your greater wisdom and with source itself also comes back into like, how is your communion moving into a communication and an offering of who you are, and a willingness to be really transparent and maybe even vulnerable in the expression of who you are. And then that also comes into community. You and I tying together, the unity of communing together. So the communion of self, the communication of expression of it, and then the community at large as you realize at perhaps yet the next level that there is no separation, that you are one with all, with everything, right? So we can have this higher communion and communication. Next is aspiration, aspiring. What do you aspire for? It's the drawing of breath, right? We've been through this experience of the lack of breath, and now we're in this aspiration, aspiring for breath, right? Aspiring to bring in breath at a higher level, aspiring for and inspiring, right? The inspiration of your aspirations, right? Looking to create. What are you looking to create or experience? What are you aspiring to? This is really potent medicine for this month because there's a real activation in the 11 mastery for you to really come into alignment with that which you are most aspiring towards. And then resilience was the next word to come. resilience in all things, right? Your resilience has been so optimized, right? If an opportunity to really see how resilient you are and will continue to be. And you are made for this, and you are made for more, and you have this, and you are held and supported by Source itself and by universal intelligence. And the opportunity to really be in the full expression of your resilience is your surrender. So surrendering in all things, and what all of this brings us to, full culmination brings you to, is love. Really, truly, the vibration, the sequence, the frequency of love is what shall proclaim and activate your truest freedom. So you commune with self and with Source. You aspire to be your greatest. You acknowledge and recognize that you're resilient, and through that resilience, you find the sweet surrender. And then what gets to be in its full expression is the power and the high frequency of love itself. You were created in the essence of love. You are the vibration of love. And in this communion with self, you and with Source, there's a greater opportunity for you to really embody and to embrace the full frequency of what love means, not from a conceptual space, but from a full heart activation space. And as we're moving into the higher frequencies, the space between heaven and earth has always been third chakra, right? It's always been the power, the fear center. We're moving into the space between heaven and earth, coming into full culmination and activation of being the heart frequency, right? Because these upper chakras have been activated now. So the midline of the body really vibrationally is moving into heart and high heart, which is your full expression of love in the giving and the receiving of it. It is your salvation. It is what shall set you free. And it is available to you. It is your divine blueprint to recognize, to know, and to understand the frequency of love when you are allowing for it and standing in the truth of your mastery. And everything is coming in to support you in this. Everything. Will there be challenges? Most likely. This is awakening. This is transformation. If it was, you might perceive that it is not the easiest ride, and that is okay. It is opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and you may perceive that as challenge because it can feel like that. But when you get back to the remembrance that you are the divine creator and you are in the divinity of love itself, then the ease of this transformative time shall be able to move more effortlessly through you. You are sourced in all things. You are loved infinitely. And you are the divine expression of love when you allow for it in its fullness. So this is the opportunity for this very activating month, a very freeing month. Feels like the dams or the hard edges or this compression that's been pushing against all sides, like pushing, so expansion can occur. There's an aspiration into greater expansion this month. And it's a preparation for the things that are to come for the rest of the year. Remember who you are at soul level. You are infinite, you are a creator, and you are magical beyond belief. So if you like what's happening here, please share, please like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and drop below in the comments, what are you aspiring to? What is your aspiration? What dreams do you aspire? What are you willing to know, become, and aspire to with this huge frequency that's gifting you the opportunity to be in the space of creating that which you most aspire to? Have a great month. I'll see you soon.